I've been all over the place with my Nintendo Switch too. I've been playing Mario Kart World, I've been playing The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker on the GameCube app, and I've been playing / streaming other Nintendo Switch 1 games, none of them having actual like updates or anything like that. This one's running a steady 60 frames though. But you know what I haven't really touched up on, at least not until recently, are the Nintendo Switch 2 edition games. Those two being The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I wanted to make this video to generalize my personal feelings about replaying those two, seeing how the upgrades are, the enhancements. I was not expecting myself to get hooked back onto them again. So going forward, let's just talk about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and save Tears of the Kingdom in a separate video. So here I am playing through The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I'm not crazy or anything like that. I'm going just through my normal file that I've had with a solid save left in 2018, even though I've definitely just picked it up here and there and just played for like a couple bits here and there. The purpose of what I want to do with both of these games is pretty much use these enhancements just to incentivize me going back and playing it to 100%. Because I definitely didn't do either of these 100%. In fact, this Breath of the Wild save only has Trial of the Sword completed as far as DLC. There's the Ballad DLC that I should probably clear throughout that one, but I think I just picked up Master Mode after that. Anyway, I'm here loaded up in the Korok Forest, the offender of performance issues, and you've probably seen videos about this before. It runs pretty smooth. My capture equipment doesn't do this justice whatsoever, but not only does it look good, it runs smooth. In summary, what was already great, okay here and there, depending on like frame dips here and there, has now just been perfected. Now that's great and all, but I think the star of the show, as far as like me getting hooked back onto Breath of the Wild in this case, was Zelda Notes. So what's Zelda Notes? It's a supplementary add-on to Nintendo Switch 2 edition of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and it's accessible through your phone. What it's meant to do is to log and track your current progress, and it tracks literally everything: main quests, side quests, the number of shrines, the specific mini-boss enemies. Zelda Notes is part of the Nintendo Switch app that is free to download whether you have iOS or Android. You do not need Nintendo Switch Online specifically to get access to Zelda Notes. All you really need is a smartphone with the Nintendo Switch app, an internet connection of course, and you know, the star of the show, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of your respective game. I'm gonna actually like pull it up here too. There are a couple things that they've added. Oh my god, that's the crazy thing. They didn't really like touch up on it, but on the Zelda Notes app for Breath of the Wild, just Breath of the Wild, there's 125 voice memories to collect, and you can only access them through Zelda Notes. The big player here for Zelda Notes is the navigation, which pretty much highlights the entirety of the map and has everything logged in here as far as shrines, towers, stables, village, buildings, shops, other places, the Koroks, the main mini-bosses that you typically see. Those are Taluses, Hinoxes, the Lynels, and of course they even track your quest line stuff, the main quest, side quests. Of course, there's also the captured memories as well. There's also the, of course, newly added voice memories. And I just want to give it its flowers. I think the integration of the navigation here on the phone, especially tagged on to your specific file and progression, is really, really good. Let me just go over the other stuff as well. We have my play data here. It's essentially a catalog of achievements built into Zelda Notes. A lot of these will be filled in for you automatically if you have existing player save data, but I don't think it has everything. Like for example, enemies defeated, it only will clock in, I guess, whatever you've already like cleared through as of linking your game to Zelda Notes. Even though in my previous save file, I'm pretty sure I've like gotten like at least 2,000 like enemies defeated. Global play data. And that's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much you comparing yourself to pretty much everyone in the world who already has like data synced into Zelda Notes. That's pretty nice if you want to just be on the leaderboards. They have records from ruppies collected all the way to like a distance travel. Dude, this is tough. Causes of death succumbing to Lynels. Ain't that the truth? But now we look over to the daily bonuses, which, oh, I guess I get another one. This one's interesting. It is a lottery-based daily bonus where you go ahead and tap on the screen, tell it to stop, and it will land on a variety of different buffs. In this case, I get a hearty meal, or I think when I was doing the recording for this one, it was just health recovery plus some additional hearts. And that is also accessed through key items on the main settings / menu of the game. This is an interesting one too, the amiibo aspect here. So Zelda Notes will actually register all your Zelda themed amiibo. The Ocarina of Time link, Majora's Mask link, to even Tears of the Kingdom, even when you're playing Breath of the Wild. They'll give you like a detailed image of the amiibo, as well as an image of it in its casing before you literally ripped it out. So I do kind of like that. But the main appeal here is to scan them a good number of times up until you scan them for the 5th time. Once you have that done, you'll be able to actually scan that amiibo an additional time on a daily. The next one's Photo Studio. I don't really have, I'm gonna be real honest, I don't really have too much use for Photo Studio except for making the thumbnail of this video. But that's nice to play around with. Has a bunch of like different edits that you can do for your individual like photos, whether you're using the share button or you're using the in-game camera. And the last one for Breath of the Wild is the item sharing. This one I'm not too really interested in, but I do like the idea of being able to pass on resources to maybe some other person that's friends with you. Or you can even share it online with the QR code. That's pretty nice. Definitely could have been useful if this was kind of like a day one type of thing. Obviously, we didn't have the tech here, but would have been nice. There's some huge benefits when it comes to using Zelda Notes in tandem with your respective game. The biggest one, honestly, for me, is the personal tracker. Navigation, this goes for Tears of the Kingdom too, but Breath of the Wild completion can be pretty daunting, can be pretty tedious, especially when we talk about the Koroks. Over the course of the game's release, we've been getting a lot of fan-made submissions and maps, custom maps, that help to curate exactly what is needed for everyone's particular progress. That's really cool and all, mind you, but I will say the navigation on Zelda Notes makes this much more personalized and honestly way more seamless. Like I really just took a journey from one point to the next just very much so naturally without really ever having to go over to a different tab, write down exactly what it actually has been checked mark. It's pretty seamless. I will also give shout outs to the navigation. It is nice up until, you know, it starts to lecture you on like how close you really are and the micro adjustments they want you to make. Thankfully, you can turn navigation off, but I will say, as a plus, the navigation actually tells you whether you need to go up or down. It's not going to point you an XY axis. It's also going to tell you if you're above ground or below ground from the actual target that you're trying to go to. Something that we really need to have like an actual conversation about, because you can really try all you like in a certain location, and if you don't know exactly if there's something hidden beneath you, you won't otherwise find it. Also, you're going to need navigation in order for you to check out all these different voice memos, which, by the way, again, 125 of those voice memos, just custom voice messages from the voice actors, as well as just like additional content lore. My particular navigation is filled with Korok seeds, and I'm actually kind of shocked because maybe I wasn't really like deep diving into a lot of them, or maybe I just really wasn't into getting 100% on Korok seeds. I know what the benefit is and what it ultimately leads to, right? But I just was shocked how many were left. I was also really shocked that I kind of forgot about some of these mini bosses that are out in the field that I just never interacted with. It's crazy how large Breath of the Wild really is, to a point where there are things that you could honestly just have missed if you weren't doing 100%, which is kind of weird to say out loud, but I'm gonna be honest with myself there. I mean, hell, there are even shrines that I missed out when I was playing through the normal mode. So Zelda Notes is a very convenient way for me to track everything. And for a game this large, where 100% completion requires so much note taking, so many referencing bits, it is super daunting. And I can totally understand that people will just simply drop off the game after they maybe clear credits or whenever they wanted to drop off. And 100%ing the game requires a lot. Zelda Notes really is a game changer. I also would say that amiibo scans do help quite a bit. I don't really like to take advantage of it too much. Like, it's cool to get like nice items here and there, but otherwise, you know, feel like a lot of the resources can be found, especially like the really good resources are found out there fighting Lionels, to be honest with you. But it's also just nice to have like a nice freebie, especially since you paid some odd dollars for those amiibo. Now, I've sung navigation praises, but what are some of the bad things about Zelda Notes? I don't want to be the old man that yells at clouds, but it really is something that new content added into these games are now tied and locked behind a phone app. I mean, I will vouch that launch date, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, both of those games are just fine as they are. You don't need anything extra from these ones. Of course, the navigation stuff is super rock solid, but otherwise, we have the resource of the internet. We can get by. It's almost insane to know that they threw in a lot of additional content for free. So it makes me wonder, like, why couldn't they just somehow have added that into Breath of the Wild? Would that have been like too much of like a game cheating type of thing where if you have Zelda Notes, essentially that is already like a nice little add-on there and a way for you to utilize your phone as a much more organized guide. Whereas if you were to put the resources of this into the game, that would just make the game just significantly easier for a lot of people and just be way too. I don't know what I want to say about that, but yeah, I kind of get it though because Zelda Notes, especially with navigation, it's a little broken. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you look at the amiibo scans as well, and it's like an additional scan. That's one would say that it is. I'm not. I don't want to say pay to win, but those are free resources. They're just giving even more to a game that didn't really need that, you know? So I guess I kind of get it. But I think what kind of draws the line for me, but I'm still kind of like sorting through my feelings about it, are the voice memories. Maybe they don't really have much of a place in the base game, but hearing them now and getting a lot of additional context for, you know, the game to kind of give it a little layer of, I guess, lore, really. I kind of wish that was actually added into the game, similar to how the memories were implanted. But I also think that that's a hindsight problem, that the developers didn't have this in mind when they developed, you know, this, but they also wanted people to use this new add-on and try out some new things. So Zelda Notes was, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it was definitely not something conceptualized when the games came out. You can still enjoy the game as it were, and you'll still get the same takeaway. This is just additional stuff just to reward people for just doing that and completing the task at hand, which is just collecting the voice memories. So I guess all in all, I guess I am kind of iffy about that now. Otherwise, there isn't really any drawbacks to having Zelda Notes. So should people give Zelda Notes a try? If you have the access, if you have like a phone, if you have the internet connection with that, sure, it's free. I mean, you have to pay for Nintendo Switch 2 edition for Zelda, whether it's a brand new purchase for you or it's just a $10 add-on, sure. I say that, but you definitely don't need this add-on to enjoy Breath of the Wild in this case. I love Breath of the Wild when it was on Switch, 30 frames, also dropped during Korok Forest and a couple other places, and I still love that game now, even with all the additional like add-ons to it. So that's how I feel about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I think there's a lot of really good stuff out of this, and just generally speaking, I think Zelda Notes is a super solid add-on. You don't need it, but it is something that can really hook you back into the game, especially if you like keeping track of your task like this in a way that's much more seamless. Because I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely tried doing, you know, guides online and just trying to like keep track of like my personal stuff, while also filtering out the things that I've already collected. Tedious. That's all I gotta say about that. And this baked into your phone app, linked to your personal file, so it will just filter out all the things that make your particular file unique to yours, and your progress carries over with it. It's just nice. I'll probably make another follow-up video, but with Tears of the Kingdom, mainly because I really like revisiting these games now, and it's definitely given me the incentive to 100% them finally. So stay tuned for that one. Thank you all so much for tuning on this one, and feel free to like the video, subscribe to the Tanuki channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.